Nothing unusual to see here.
WEREWOLF, or to give it its full name, WEREWOLF, the axe-wielding werewolf from hell. And this is written and directed by the man known as Sam Hell. And this is a low-budget B-movie horror comedy, well, about WEREWOLF. So the story focuses on this street preacher named Don Johnson. Yep. And he travels to a new town, but he is actually cursed with turning into a werewolf who happens to like using a fire axe to hack up anyone that comes across his path. And, you know, he is questioning his faith because of it, ultimately. And is this a sort of an instrument of God, or is it something else? What will happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So the story takes a back seat in this kind of style of movie, but what can we say that works in this movie's favour? So, number one, if you like tattooed goth women, I've got a treat for you. This movie's female cast is nearly exclusively all tattooed goth women. So, most of them get chopped up. So there you go. So, but there's, you know, a bit of nudity, bit of violence, lots of tattooed goth women for you to enjoy. Next up, what can I say? It's although this movie is low budget and the VFX are on the cheap side, I still kind of quite enjoy the kind of the action sequences, if you want to call them that, the kind of the gore sequences, because you know they are. It's like a gore concert. Ultimately, it's not going to be realistic gore as you'd probably expect from such a low budget movie. But I gotta say, practically realised, they haven't kind of relied on you know, CGI blood and things like this. It's all kind of done somewhat kind of in a homemade manner, and it's quite fun. And nonetheless, I still think it actually works quite well when you consider, obviously, the rest of the kind of the aesthetic in regards to the kind of the low budgetness of this movie. So, you know, you see axe buried in, you know, buried in heads and things like this. People getting various kind of limbs chopped off and the like. So, I think it's actually done pretty well. Pretty fun if you like kind of like comic booky style sort of gore. I actually found our character of Don Johnson to be quite an intriguing character, I have to say. I got the feeling some of the lines here are probably improvised. Just the way the kind of the acting is on screen, it kind of feels at least partially improvised. But you know, our main character has a sort of magnetic charisma about him, I would say. You know, there's some interesting stuff done where he's kind of looking directly at the camera and stuff. Which makes him quite an intriguing character, and I have to say he has a sort of a bit of on-screen charisma that I quite liked. Now this movie's obviously not going to be taken seriously. There's some quite sort of out there scenes. There's one scene where we have like a video game sequence where our character of Don Johnson is effectively seeing the world through a kind of first-person video game, and he encounters Jesus, and this is his kind of vision, so to speak. And it's all done with, like, you know, health bars and all the rest of it, and kind of video game music and stuff. So there's obviously kind of like lots of kind of kooky sort of fun to be had with this movie, if you don't mind some silliness on screen. Obviously, it's kind of not a film to be taken seriously, and you have to kind of bear that in mind. So it does have an element of fun to it. It's not a long movie, so it doesn't kind of outstay its welcome at any point. And there's some sort of, we meet a variety of sort of kooky characters along the way. What doesn't work, I mean, the story is, as I mentioned, it's kind of secondary here, and you feel like the movie really is a little directionless in regards to any type of narrative. It's like, you know, we have this almost like the Incredible Hulk, where this kind of guy runs, you know, comes into town who's got this kind of secret, and he's kind of looking for answers and stuff. But it doesn't really get much deeper than that, to be honest with you. You know, he's accompanied by someone else that might have ulterior motives, and But again, it's just a little bit sort of lacking in regards to story. And again, I appreciate you're probably not really kind of wanting to have an in-depth movie plot here, I guess, but nonetheless, it's a little lacking. I think when the movie isn't doing a kind of a man-or-wolf scene, and let me be clear here, that this isn't a movie which is kind of leaning into good special effects. Our Wolfman is literally a rubber Halloween mask with rubber hands, and again, that's part of the joke. He's turning into this. It's not like a guy who's wearing this and is like some sort of serial killer. This is what he turns into, and they make no attempts to try and like hide the fact that this is just like a store-bought rubber mask where you can see his eyes and the kind of the seam and stuff, and that's part of the kind of the gag, I suppose. But you know, it's still fun. But when there's scenes where we have more dialogue-based scenes, and we have these kind of, you know, our two main characters kind of discussing religion and stuff like that, you know, the movie does kind of slow down, and I guess you can't have a movie full of kind of these werewolf attacks, and a lot of them are just seem to be random people kind of walking past. I mean, every single character, female character, as I say, is like a you know, a goth. No bad thing, I suppose, but again, you know, he's never attacking families or anything like that. It just seems to be one type of person, really. But so it feels a little limited. It feels a little bit sort of, even for its kind of silly premise, it just feels like it's done on a short time, a short schedule, and this is what you get. It's kind of like a homemade film without much kind of in regards to story. When the movie does slow down and have these talkier scenes, it's not really particularly kind of interesting because the narrative just isn't there. You know, you almost want to have like just a kind of like, okay, I would like to see another kind of like wolf out scene where he's kind of going around on a killing rampage, because that's the fun bit. So the movie doesn't just simply have the weight to sustain a kind of a lot of kind of dialogue sequences, and some of the characters just seem to kind of like come in from nowhere and have this kind of like this kind of weird sort of quirkiness that is sometimes feels a little forced, I have to say. Overall, it's like it's a sort of throwaway B movie. If you like kind of weird sort of homemade movies, it does have an element of fun, I've got to say. Can I say this is a good movie? I mean, I can't. I mean, it's not trying to be fair. It is trying to be, you know, a silly B movie for fans of that genre. But we know we all have to put our critical hat on. I won't say it's certainly a movie that's going to change anyone's mind if they don't like low-budget movies, but certainly it will have an audience out there. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. This might sound like a low score, but honestly, critically, I don't think you can realistically say it's a good film critically, but I do think it would serve its audience who it is aimed at, and they will probably quite like it. So, there you go. That's my review of Man-or-Wolf. What were your thoughts and views on it? Let me know, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.
No more holding back!